Hello and welcome to another Magic the Gathering video. Today I'm going to be unboxing the Jace versus Vraska dual decks. So if you've not seen these before, this is a regular Wizards product for Magic the Gathering, where they sort of alternate between either being Planeswalker themed, as this is, or some other theme. They've done, for instance, things like dragons versus knights, and way back one of the early ones I think was goblins versus elves, and they alternate between just some sort of deck theme and a planeswalker theme. So in here you get two ready to play 60 card decks. That's the sort of common denominator with all these dual decks. They've also started including deck boxes, and I can't remember whether that's always been the case, with including some of the really early ones. This one's got 3 creature tokens, because obviously something in here must generate creatures or creature tokens. It's also got the usual strategy insert with the deck lists in it, and a general Magic Learn to Play guide. The other thing to note with these is that the cards in here are going to be cards from throughout Magic's history, so these will not necessarily be format playable or not playable in certain formats. For example, it's highly unlikely these decks in their current format would be standard playable. There would be just too much diversity of cards in here. Vast majority probably aren't standard legal. The other thing is that you get, as it says on the back here, in this case you get 10 rare cards, 2 mythic rare cards, and within that you've got foil alternative art versions of both Jace, Architect of Thought, and Vraska the Unseen, which are effectively the lead cards of each deck. And there's also 4 other cards featuring all new artwork, which again is a common thing to see in these dual deck products. So let's just open this up and see what's inside. So, obviously have our themed deck boxes. One for Vraska, one for Jace. Probably like all the other ones here, these are fine if you've got unsleeved cards in them, but once you put sleeves in them, they're not going to fit. Okay, let's just get this out. I'm going to take a quick look at the actual deck guide. So there's our generic how to play. So obviously something you'd have to read if you've not played Magic before. So with these, with the actual deck guide component, you obviously get the deck listings and a list of the notable printings, which is really handy if you're trying to work out where they came from originally, because the logos on here on the little icons on the side of the card there are specific to this particular product, so they're not going to have like the original printing logos on them. And also anything here that's before the modern card frame, now in this deck they're going to be in the modern card frames. So we've got a wide range of sets here. If just looking down, you can see there's cards from Worldwide, Gatecrash, Return to Ravnica, New Phyrexia, Visions, Zendikar, Shadowmoor, Avacyn Restored, Mercadian Mask, 10th edition, Theros 2010. Over here we got the cards from Plane of Chaos, Dark Ascension, Mirage down the bottom there for the Ray of Command, also Ice Age, something from Cold Snap there, and then obviously here we have our actual how to play the deck there. There you go. And then just a sort of backstory section, which you always tend to find with a lot of Magic product that is specific. Okay, so let's open up the Jace deck first. So here we have our foil Jace Architect of Thoughts. So 2 colourless, 2 blue, 4 loyalty. So let's have a look at the abilities here. So what have we got? Until your next turn, whenever a creature an opponent controls attacks, it gets -1, -0 until the end of turn. So that's the +1 ability on there. The -2, reveal the top 3 cards of your library. An opponent separates those cards into 2 piles, put one pile into your hand and the other on the bottom of your library in any order. And the -8, the ultimate ability, for each player, search that player's library for a non-land card and exile it. And that player shuffles his or her library. You may cast those cards without paying their mana costs. The writing on that's actually pretty small. I'm actually having trouble reading that. It doesn't really help with the background there. That's the first time I've actually had problems with reading Magic cards. So here's our... These must be our tokens actually. So we have an assassin token, I believe. I'm just going to check that. So somewhere in here we should have something that generates, in actual fact, who generates assassin tokens? Actually it's for the other deck, even though it's in with this deck. That assassin token would be for the Vraska deck. So in the Jace deck we've got Chronometon. So that's 1 colourless for a 1/1. 1 and tap, put a +1/+1 counter on Chronometon. There's a Jace's Phantasm in here. There's a Phantasmal Bear. Ether Figment. So we're going to see a lot of one-offs here. This is one thing with the dual decks, is there's a high degree of variability in these, which makes them fun. You know, they're tuned to play well with one another, although a lot of people find that one deck might be stronger than the other. But the variability makes them very playable over a long period of time. Crosstown Courier, Dreamstalker, Crovican Mist, 2 of those in there, Merfolk Wayfinder, Seagate Oracle, Stealer of Secrets, Ether Adept, Archamancer, Phantasmal Dragon, Body Double. Let's just have a look at Body Double, because that's a rare. So 4 and a blue for a 0/0. So obviously it's going to get its power and toughness from somewhere in its ability. You may have Body Double enter the battlefield as a copy of any creature card in a graveyard. Leyline Phantom. There seems a lot of illusions in this deck. Aeon Chronicler. Another one here with power and toughness dictated from the ability or the rules box. So 3 and 2 blue for Star. Aeon Chronicler's power and toughness are each equal to the number of cards in your hand. It's got Suspend X on it, so X for 3 colourless and a blue, and it notes here that X can't be 0. Whenever a time counter is removed from Aeon Chronicler while it's exiled, draw a card. Riftwind Cloudscape. Jace's Mindseeker, that's also a rare, so 4 and 2 blue for a 4/4 with flying. When Jace's Mindseeker enters the battlefield, target opponent puts the top 5 cards of his or her library into his or her graveyard. You may cast an instant or sorcery card from among them without paying its mana cost. Errant Ephemeron. Thought Scour, that's in the deck, and there's actually a couple of those. Agoraphobia, Into the Royal, Memory Lapse, Prohibit, Remand. So for 1 and a blue, this is an instant counter target spell. If that spell is countered this way, put it into its owner's hand instead of onto or into that player's graveyard, and you also get to draw a card on there. Claustrophobia, Griptide, Ray of Command, Control Magic, another card that allows you to take control of a creature. Summoner's Bane, Jace's Ingenuity, Future Sight. So for 2 colours and 3 blue, we have an enchantment that when we play it, we have to have the top card of your library revealed. You may play the top card of your library. Spell Twine, 5 and a blue for a sorcery which exiles a target instant or sorcery card from the graveyard and target instant or sorcery card from an opponent's graveyard. Copy those cards, cast the copies if able without paying their mana costs. Exile Spell Twine. Dread Sanctuary in here, which is what they call a man land, so it generates colourless mana. But for 4 colourless, Dread Statuary becomes a 4/2 Golem artifact creature. Until end of turn, it's still a land. Halimar Depths is in here, and there's a couple of those. And then we have these the islands. So this is actually a mono blue deck. Looks like that the artwork is from one of the Ravnica related decks, or actually maybe I'll have to double check that, so if anybody's sure on that, just comment. It's certainly one of the sort of city themed sets. Okay, so now we move on to Vraska the Unseen. Again, with these sort of shiny foils, it's difficult to actually see the tiny writing that you get when you've got Planeswalkers. So 3 black green for 5 loyalty Planeswalker Vraska. For the +1 ability, until your next turn, whenever a creature deals combat damage to Vraska the Unseen, destroy that creature. -3, destroy target non-land permanent. -7, which is the ultimate. Put 3 1/1 black assassin creature tokens onto the battlefield. Whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, that player loses the game. So as I said, there was one of our tokens, and this actually doesn't go in the deck itself, it's just sort of put to one side and you just play it as the ability dictates. So let's actually look at the deck itself. It did say on the packet that there were 3 tokens in here, so somewhere else there should be more of those. Okay, so we've got Pulse Tracker, Shadow Alley Denizen, Tavern Swindler, White of Precinct 6, Death Hood Cobra, Gate Creeper Vine. There's one of our other assassin tokens. Another Gate Creeper Vine. River Bower, Vine Slasher Kudzu. So this is a rare. This is 1 and a green for a 1/1 creature plant. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, put a +1/+1 counter on Vine Lasher Kudzu. That is Kudzu. Putrid Leech is in here. Alternative artwork from the original version. Sadistic Augur Mage, Slate Street Ruffian, Oran Reef Recluse, Spawn Writhe, another rare, so 2 and a green for a 2/2 with Trample. It's a creature elemental. Whenever Spawn Writhe deals combat damage to a player, put a token that's a copy of Spawn Writhe onto the battlefield. Stonefair Crocodile. Auron Viper, another rare, so this is 1 colourless, 2 green for a 1/3 snow creature snake. Whenever Auron Viper deals combat damage to a creature, destroy that creature at the end of combat. Whenever Auron Viper deals combat damage to a player, you may draw a card. Corpse Traders, Festerhide Boar, Mold Shambler, Highway Robber, Necrattle, Reaper of the Wilds. So another rare, 2 colourless black-green for a 4/5 creature Gorgon. Whenever another creature dies, scry for 1. So you look at the top card of your library, you may put that card on the bottom of your library. Cost of 1 black, Reaper of the Wild gains Death Touch until end of turn, or for a cost of 1 colourless and green, Reaper of the Wild gains Hexproof until end of turn. I've said or, obviously if you've got the relevant amount of mana spare there, you could actually trigger both of those abilities. Acidic Slime, Drooling Gradoan, I think that is Gradoan. Tragic Slip, and not surprisingly there's a couple of those. Hypnotic Cloud, Night's Whisper, Marsh Casualties, Treasured Find, Last Kiss, Stab Wound, Underworld Connection. So for 1 colourless, 2 black, you get an enchantment aura that enchants a land, but also that land that you've enchanted has tap, pay 1 life, draw a card. Consume Strength, Grisly Spectacle. Got a Golgari Guildgate in here, which is going to fix for the green, the black or the green. So when it enters the battlefield, it comes in tapped. But once it's been untapped, you tap it, add black or green to your mana pool. There's also Rogue's Passage in here. So another non-basic land. Tap that, add 1 colour to your mana pool. For a cost of 4, you can tap it. Target creature can't be blocked this turn. So very good if you've got some sort of real pumped up creature, and you can pay the cost and tap this, and that particular creature can't be blocked for a turn. Tainted Wood, so that's going to generate 1 colourless mana, or another thing you can do with it is it adds black or green to your mana pool, but you can only activate the ability if you control a swamp. And there's 2 of those. So we've got a degree of utility and mana fixing on our non-basic lands. And then not surprisingly, we're going to see obviously the mana here in black, and there'll be some green here, some forest. So again, these are all cityscape artwork here. And there's our 3rd assassin token, which we obviously again just put to one side. It doesn't go in the deck, but when we got round to actually activating Vraska's the Unseen Ultimate ability, that's where those tokens come in. So there you have it. You've got the Jace Architect of Thought and Vraska the Unseen as part of the Jace versus Vraska dual decks. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.